Accused Venezuela of sending criminals and mentally ill patients into America. In a Fury Truth Social post, Trump warned Venezuela, saying that, quote unquote, the price will be incalculable.
What happens when fiery words, military deployments, and accusations collide between two nations already standing on shaky ground? On September 20th, 2025, former U.S. President Donald Trump issued a thunderous warning to Venezuela. Accept back immigrants he called prisoners and people from mental institutions, or face what he described as an incalculable price. The statement instantly ignited international debate, drawing sharp responses from Venezuela and raising global concerns about how far this escalating standoff might go. This was not just another political outburst. The words carried weight because they landed in the middle of a volatile moment, one where naval fleets were already moving in the Caribbean. Militias were mobilizing on Venezuelan soil, and suspicions ran high about Washington's intentions. For supporters, Trump's words showed resolve in protecting U.S. interests. For critics, they raised fears of reckless escalation. For ordinary people watching around the world, they marked yet another reminder of how quickly international tensions can spiral into dangerous confrontations. In today's deep dive, we will unpack this unfolding crisis. From Trump's bold claims and Venezuela's fiery response, to the growing U.S. military presence in the Caribbean, Maduro's countermoves, and the broader implications for international politics. Stay tuned as we explore the facts, the context, and the rising storm that could reshape U.S.-Venezuelan relations. Trump's explosive warning. The spark for this latest flare-up came directly from Trump's social media platform, Truth Social, where he posted in unmistakably blunt terms, "Get them the hell out of our country right now, or the price you pay will be incalculable." He accused Venezuela of deliberately sending people with criminal backgrounds and mental health issues into the United States. According to Trump, such individuals were forced into the country, and he claimed, without presenting evidence, that thousands of people have been badly hurt and even killed by these monsters. This statement carried several layers of meaning. On the surface, it was framed as a demand for Venezuela to take responsibility for certain migrants. But beneath it lay the suggestion of severe, undefined consequences. Consequences that could extend beyond immigration policy into military or economic arenas. Trump has long used forceful language when addressing migration issues, but this particular statement stood out because it combined the urgency of an ultimatum with the vagueness of a threat. An incalculable price is not something easily measured. It is a phrase designed to leave both allies and adversaries wondering about the scope of potential actions. Would it mean sanctions, military strikes, or diplomatic isolation? The lack of clarity was part of the message itself, leaving Venezuela to guess where the line might be drawn. The Caribbean strikes and rising tensions. Trump's warning did not come in isolation. It followed a series of U.S. military operations targeting what Washington described as drug vessels in the Caribbean. Just one day before his social media outburst, Trump announced that another Venezuelan boat had been struck, leaving 3 men dead. He referred to them as male narco-terrorists. Venezuela, however, saw the situation very differently. Officials in Caracas denounced the attacks as part of an undeclared war being waged against the country. They have already called on the United Nations to investigate at least 3 such strikes since early September, which collectively claimed the lives of 17 people. These incidents added to an already combustible atmosphere. For the United States, the narrative was one of cracking down on illegal trafficking and protecting its borders from the flow of narcotics. For Venezuela, the strikes were violations of sovereignty and human rights. And for international observers, the truth remained uncertain because little verifiable evidence had been released. Legal analysts quickly weighed in, pointing out that international law requires a much higher burden of proof for such lethal actions at sea. Without clear evidence, the attacks could be considered extrajudicial killings. This set the stage for a broader debate. Were these anti-drug operations, or were they part of a gradual escalation toward open confrontation? A show of force? U.S. military buildup? Tensions rose sharply with news of a major U.S. military deployment to the Caribbean. Washington positioned 7 warships, a nuclear-powered submarine, and F-35 stealth fighters near Venezuela's coast, with more jets in Puerto Rico, one of the largest recent naval operations in the region. The official explanation cited anti-drug operations, yet the scale suggested more than routine enforcement. For many observers, it appeared a calculated warning to President Nicolas Maduro, a reminder that Washington retained the ability and willingness to escalate. Warships and fighters serve not only defensive purposes, but also as signals of intent. Their presence left Venezuelans and international observers questioning U.S. motives: deterrence, provocation, or a prelude to something larger? For Venezuela, the deployment deepened suspicions of regime change ambitions. For the U.S., it showcased commitment to counter threats. For the wider region, it introduced fresh uncertainty into already fragile stability. Maduro's counter-moves and mobilization. President Nicolas Maduro reacted swiftly, accusing the U.S. of seeking to destabilize his government and remove him from power. In response, he pledged to mobilize over 4 million militia fighters nationwide. The National Bolivarian Militia, formed of civilian volunteers, answered his call. Drills led by the Bolivarian National Armed Forces took place in Caracas and beyond, training citizens in weapon handling and defense. These actions were both symbolic, demonstrating unity, and practical, preparing for possible scenarios. Maduro portrayed the mobilization as patriotism, insisting Venezuelans must defend their nation from outside interference. He depicted the militia as the embodiment of popular will, fighting alongside the armed forces. The move also sent a political message at home. Venezuelans should rally behind the government during external pressure. By uniting citizens under the flag, Maduro aimed to strengthen domestic resolve even as international tensions grew. The $50 million bounty and accusations of hybrid warfare. Escalation deepened when Washington doubled its reward for information, leading to Maduro's arrest, raising it to $50 million. To Caracas, this reinforced suspicions that regime change remained a hidden goal of U.S. policy. Maduro rejected the accusations, denying links between his government and drug networks. He described the bounty and military pressure as elements of hybrid warfare, a mix of military, economic, and media tactics aimed at weakening Venezuela. Hybrid warfare here meant more than naval strikes. It included sanctions, information campaigns, and online influence. When Maduro's YouTube channel disappeared, officials called it another attempt to silence Venezuela's voice. Venezuelan outlet Telesur said the closure was part of hybrid warfare operations. Whether due to enforcement or political pressure, its timing strengthened Caracas's claim that the conflict spanned not just seas but digital and economic domains as well. A letter of diplomacy amid the firestorm. Amid these heated exchanges, there was a quieter but notable development. Following the first U.S. strike earlier in the month, Maduro reportedly sent a personal letter to Trump. According to sources who viewed the letter, Maduro called for direct and frank talks aimed at overcoming misinformation and rebuilding a peaceful relationship grounded in mutual respect, sovereignty, and an urgent desire to prevent escalation. He wrote, "President, I hope that together we can defeat the falsehoods that have sullied our relationship, which must be historic and peaceful." This gesture highlighted a paradox. Even as Venezuela condemned U.S. actions as aggression, its leadership simultaneously sought dialogue, perhaps in recognition that open confrontation could carry devastating consequences for both sides. Diplomatic overtures in such moments can be difficult to interpret. Was Maduro sincerely offering dialogue, or was it a tactical move designed to buy time and ease international pressure? Was Trump inclined to respond, or would the rhetoric of confrontation overshadow any chance of engagement? Regardless of the answers, the letter stood as a reminder that diplomacy and escalation often run side by side, each shaping the course of events in unpredictable ways. International and legal reactions. Globally, the unfolding crisis has drawn sharp attention and sparked passionate debate. Analysts point out that the legality of U.S. strikes in international waters remains contested, particularly since no concrete evidence has been provided to substantiate the narcotics trafficking claims. Calls for a United Nations investigation reflect wider concern that such actions, if unchecked, could set troubling precedents with long-lasting consequences for international norms and the credibility of multilateral institutions. Other nations in the region watched closely, wary of being pulled into a confrontation. Caribbean countries, many dependent on trade routes and energy markets, expressed unease about the military buildup so close to their waters. For them, the stakes are not just political but also economic, since conflict could disrupt vital shipping lanes and threaten already fragile economies recovering from global downturns. International human rights organizations added their voices, warning that the rhetoric of incalculable price and the reality of naval strikes carried grave risks for civilian populations. Legal experts reiterated that accountability under international law requires transparency, something both sides seemed reluctant to fully provide, fueling further doubts about credibility and fairness in the eyes of the global community. In the broader context, the confrontation also touched on global power dynamics. Countries allied with Venezuela, such as Russia and Iran, monitored the situation for opportunities to expand their influence, while U.S. allies evaluated the risks of backing Washington's aggressive stance amid growing fears of destabilization in the hemisphere. What lies ahead? Uncertainty and possibility. As of now, the situation is fluid and unpredictable, shifting daily with new developments and statements. Trump's warning of an incalculable price left open questions. Would this mean intensified sanctions, further military strikes, cyber operations, or something else entirely? Could Venezuela's appeals for diplomacy gain traction? Or would mistrust dominate the next phase of this volatile confrontation? The stakes are high. With warships in the Caribbean, militia drilling in Caracas, and fiery words exchanged across borders, the world watches closely. The coming weeks could determine whether this confrontation hardens into conflict or yields to negotiation, with regional stability and energy markets hanging in the balance. History suggests such confrontations rarely remain static. They either escalate or cool through dialogue, and which path emerges depends on leaders under pressure, both domestic and international. For Washington, the challenge lies in balancing security concerns with international law. For Caracas, it lies in resisting pressure without deepening hardship. For the global community, it lies in mediating before it is too late, knowing the costs of inaction could be immense. The confrontation between the United States and Venezuela in September 2025 shows how swiftly global politics can escalate. A single statement, amplified by military action and counter-accusations, has sparked a storm with the potential to reshape regional security and international law. So, what lies ahead? Will the situation tilt toward dialogue, or are we witnessing the first steps of a deeper conflict? If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more analysis of world events. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update, and join the discussion in the comments below. Your perspectives truly matter. Stay tuned, stay informed, and thank you for watching.